Good morning. Something very strange this morning that I can't remember if this ever happened before. After I came out of the meditation room and came to the computer, I realized that I had written a title and a blurb yesterday morning, fairly early. But then I went into a totally different place, and my meditation was in a different space, a different place in my meditating, my pondering, than when I wrote this yesterday. And so I came to the computer and I had to make the decision, do I go with what I wrote yesterday, or do I write a new title and a new blurb and go with where I ended up yesterday and where I am this morning? And I decided to go ahead with the title and the blurb that I wrote yesterday, but of course I will follow up with what has happened since I wrote this for me, and I think it will have, you'll see where it may have an effect on the questions that were raised in this. The title that I wrote down and wrote the blurb to is this: OPPT and justice. What we sow, we reap. I hear a lot of people, including close friends, tell me that our ET friends cannot violate free will, that it goes against some sort of divine directive. I have a question. Why should those that have violated the free will of many be immune from divine justice? Why should those that have participated in the theft of human dignity and rights not be made accountable by a power greater than themselves? Somehow I think the scales of justice need to come full circle, guaranteeing remedy for those that have played the roles of victims, whether consciously or not. I'm sorry, but I think the time for coddling the criminals at the top of our corrupt structure must end now. Yes, forgive those who choose truth, but for those that do not, it's time to level the playing field. As a Libra, I strongly dislike injustice. I chuckle there because what I wrote was true when I wrote it, and there's still truth there, which is why I left it in. If I didn't believe there was truth there, I wouldn't have left it in. I've talked about this subject of justice on at least several videos. And when I came to the computer and I read this, I thought, what was going on just before, just before I wrote this? And I've been following the situation with a couple of people whose homes are being threatened, one of whom was locked out of her house, and another has received threats, but they haven't been carried out yet, a lady in Canada. And I apologize to you if I promised you that I was going to call you yesterday or talk to you yesterday. I know I didn't follow up on that, and please forgive me. I have been spending a lot of time on the phone lately with more than one person, but most especially Gina. And let me say that a couple of things happened yesterday after I wrote this blurb. One was a video that I watched with Drunvalo Melchizedek about increasing our psychic abilities. And he talked about psychic people even that are blind, that have perfect vision. I know that doesn't make sense because they're not seeing with their eyes physically. Their eyes are incapable of seeing. But the third eye is not. And they're using the third eye to see perfectly in three-dimensional reality. Anyway, I watched that 33-minute video or 34-minute video, whatever it was, a little over half an hour. And it impacted me a lot. And then I had a long conversation with Gina. Now, Gina, I want to say, and I'm not telling her story, she wants to tell her own story, and you will be hearing the two of us actually on camera within the upcoming week, you will be hearing us live on camera talk about various things. She's much more connected to the ETs than I am. But where I was throughout the night, actually, my sleep was very sporadic last night, waking up continuously because I'm being downloaded. And then after I watched that Drunvalo thing, I had a point where just a wave of emotion began to sweep over me. And it put me in a space for about 10 minutes or so, 10, maybe 15, I don't know. I didn't measure the time. But where I was just crying, and I didn't know why I was crying. It just seemed totally spontaneous, and I posted that on Facebook, and as of a little bit ago, there were 117 likes and 86 comments to a little thing that I just said, I'm not sure why, but a wave of emotion just began sweeping over me, bringing tears to my eyes. There is no rational cause. That's all I said. And 117 likes and 86 comments. But I'm feeling, even in the meditation before I came to the computer, I'm feeling that download. My head was like, I was feeling the signals transmitting and being transmitted, like there was telepathy. Like everything is in my heart. Even the ETs, even Gina, miles, 10-hour drive away. I'm feeling this connection, this strong connection, which has to do with this cannot violate free will. Gina and many others on this planet have a very, very, very strong ET connection. They are probably more ET than they are human in some respects. And these are people that have not lost their connection to the, quote, other side, if you will, or to the extra dimensions, to the extrasensory perceptions. And I've met some of these people in the course of my life. Some of them are walk-ins where actually an ET presence, if you will, takes over the body of someone. Drunvalo Melchizedek himself is a walk-in. And there are other walk-ins that I have met in my life. Some live right close by. A lady named Susan that I know is the diary of a walk-in. I mean, she wrote the book, and she's spoken here at the Mary Horgan Center. And I'm saying that, all right, this divine directive, they can't interfere. But what they can do is they can empower us. And I feel like I'm learning whole new things, like gifts that I recognize as being latent within me are being activated. And I believe that this is Spirit's answer to what I wrote yesterday morning. And this is what I'm experiencing. And I know that I'm not the only one experiencing it. I know there are, just from that comment, lots of people are feeling the download of new energy. And this is affecting what's happening in the world. The OPPT is affecting people at the highest levels. The people that have been doing the injustices. They know what's going on. They're very aware of these energies that are sweeping. And it is going to address the issue of divine justice. It is going to address the issue of stopping those that are just totally disregarding the rights and the dignity of other human beings, of other beings even, whether human or extraterrestrial or wherever they are. They're not going to be able to continue to get away with the injustices. And And I have a really strong sense that this is true. Although when I wrote that yesterday morning, I'm reading about the lady being locked out of her own house. I'm hearing these stories of people that are struggling, and one of the calls that I had yesterday from a lady, uh, I think there were 2 or 3 calls from her. The first one, and anyway, was really fearful, and then I posted some things and tagged her on it to try to get her out of the fear. And we do need to get out of our fear. And the lady that was locked out of her house, she's amazing. Her attitude is much better than mine would be if that happened to me. Of course, she has a cell phone and maybe an iPad or something, and she can still communicate with the world. If I was locked out of my home with my computers inside, I don't have such wireless things. I would no longer be able to to communicate with the world. So it would affect me far differently. But I'm coming into, I can feel these energies coming alive in me. I can feel the sensations around my head like I've felt them other times before, and I have felt waves of energy and waves of emotion sweep over me at other times than yesterday. But in the context of what happened yesterday, of the Drunville video and then talking with Gina, I'm realizing how Spirit is answering this cry and how it's manifesting. It's manifesting through us. Now, I've often envisioned some of the leaders that seem to be holding the old line of the old world order and the old paradigm in place getting arrested. I've talked about that before. And I do believe they need to be curtailed from their ability to wreak havoc in people's lives. This is not something that to me is a good thing. It's a frightening thing for people that have to go through it and for people that have to face it as I've had to face it. But the remedy is coming, and it's coming within us. And I don't know how actually the mechanism is going to be put in place, but it is, I feel, going to be with supernatural abilities that are triggered and activated within people that are inhabiting bodies on this planet, whether they are awakened humans, whether they are ET walk-ins, whether they are ETs that were born of some kind of impregnation of a mother by ETs. I don't know all of the dynamics, but I know a lot of stories about abductees that were possibly impregnated and giving birth to actual ETs here on Earth that are partially human, but they're really of ET origin. There's lots of things, lots of dynamics that I'm aware of that could be happening and probably are happening to shift everything on planet Earth. There are other people like me, like Gina, and many of you that are listening, that are committed with all of our heart to a transformation where love gives everyone the opportunity to make free choices. And we're coming together. We're coming together in ways that are going to tip the balance back in the direction of justice, back in the direction of liberation for everyone that wants it. Now, some people may choose to stay in the old energies because they're comfortable in those old energies. But they can't be the people at the top that abuse others' rights. That has to have a line drawn. They cannot any longer be given free rein to exercise terror over people that are just saying no, that they don't want to live in that system anymore. They don't want to live in that paradigm of fear anymore. They want out. And this is being provided by these new energies that are sweeping in, and by the activation, if you will, of some of these wonderful beings that have the stronger connections. And I'm so excited about what I'm gleaning from Gina. I'm so excited that she's sharing her life and her wisdom and her insights with me. And she's actually going to be coming, and we're going to meet each other face to face. It's just a beautiful thing that I see happening and that I feel happening. And I know that Spirit is not just hearing my cry, but is hearing your cry as well. Because you are loved. You are loved more than you can realize. Even if you're going through extremely difficult situations. And one lady that I talked to yesterday on the phone, she said, I said everybody's being challenged, and I named several things like health and financial and stuff. And she says, I'm getting challenged in many of those areas. And some people are. But the answer is coming to us through us. And I want you not to lose hope. Because as I said yesterday, I believe in you. I love you. And so does your Creator. So does God. So do your angels. So do your ET brothers and sisters. So do other humans. We are in a web that is changing the world and sweeping over humanity and changing who we are and how we see ourselves and how we operate in this world. And this change, this transformation, is bringing and answering the questions of justice that I raised in the blurb that I wrote yesterday morning that I shared earlier at the beginning of this talk. I thank you once again with all of my heart for taking time to listen. And we're doing it, folks. We're doing it. We are getting the help we've cried out for. And we're doing it. Namaste.